Yo, what's going on, everybody? We are here for the live watch along. And honestly, guys, I'm so sorry. We got here right after Dustin Jacobe smoked Bruno. And unfortunately, this is exactly how we saw this one going, man. It's been a tricky night in terms of these fights. I thought it was a volatile event. Basically kept my hands clean in this one. The only bet I was looking forward to pre-fight was Michael Aswell. Fought well, didn't get the job done, but oh my goodness. Dustin Jacobe just absolutely threw down, put it on the table. And I have to say, this fight kind of went according to expectations for me. I felt like Bruno is a guy that, has some skills, but if he's not going to take the fight to the ground, his chin is going to be a major liability in this light heavyweight division. There's a lot of guys that can test that. And Dustin Jacobe is one of the highest pedigreed kickboxers in the light heavyweight division. He now has 9 wins in the promotion as well. So sensational win by the Hanyak Dustin Jacobe, put it all on the line and absolutely crushed him in the first round. We got our guy, the Jewish better, nobody do it better, in the building as well. My guy's looking for the right stream. He's looking for the right connect on these fights so that way we can watch it live and bring it to you in real time with these calls. But either way, we're going to figure it out. My man, have you seen what we just witnessed? The Hanyak Dustin Jacobe, he's putting hands on him.
Iced him. Put him in the dirt. Done in one, as we said.
Absolutely. Man, it was quick. He got to work with the hands, and Dustin, normally likes to stick behind the leg kicks, kind of take his time. I feel like he really didn't respect the power that was coming back at him on the other side. He got to work right away and vicious with that. The last thing that I had mentioned on Patreon for this fight, I was like the under 2.5 rounds. It was like even money, minus 110, minus 108. I mean, doesn't get much easier than that. They both just put it on the line, right? I feel like the problem with a guy that doesn't have the greatest chin is they need to be very defensively minded, very defensively sound. Bruno's got a lot of courage, right? He is willing to get in these exchanges. That's why he's getting dropped by Mikhail Sanziani on the Contender Series. That's why he's getting dropped, the fight before that by Brenton Iberio, a guy who's been 50-50 so far in the UFC, maybe even underwater, maybe 2-3 in the promotion off the top of my head. So I think Brenton Iberio is actually back at the pay-per-view next week. So now we'll have to see, how he does. He's back, I believe, in that big underdog role again as well. I think he's taking on Azmat Mirzakhanov off a long layoff. So should be an interesting one, man. But yeah, our guy, Nate Brown, one of the channel members, one of the OGs, one of the sharpest guys in the game as well. Appreciate him always being in the chat. One jab and Lopez was on the street. Yes, he was, my man. He was taking a long walk down a short pier, and it seemed like it was only a matter of time, really. Like, Dustin Jacobe, this is the kind of fight where he really shines. When somebody's not quite on his level, if they're not going to stick to a consistent wrestling and grappling game plan, try and get him a little bit tired, they have to do the Alonzo Menafield, dance around on the outside, look for 1 or 2 big moments and make that be the way that you take over the fight. But he's on the microphone right now. I'm going to get a little bit of that in the headphones, see what he's saying. He's just thanking JC, the man upstairs.
Yo, I'm a Yankees fan, bro. We are getting absolutely dusted right now. 18-2, bro.
I was seeing that, man. It was like the second thing on the live betting market. I got to be honest, man. I booked a very small bet on our guy, Dusko Todorovic, at plus 260 or something live after round 2. And I'd be, quite frank with you. I thought he won that fight. Hats off to Zach Reese. I mean, he got the job done, right? He technically outworked him, I would say, is like the workman-like decision from Zach Reese. But, when you look at the way that fight played out, I thought round 1 was a clear Dusko round. And then you look at round 2, I thought that was a clear Reese round. Round 3, it's certainly subject to interpretation. There was more work done by Zach Reese over the course of that 5 minutes. But when you just look at the damaging shots, which I think is the number one criteria that we're looking for, effective striking. I mean, Zach Reese was wearing the crimson mask, my man. He got busted up in that round. And honestly, I thought he got hurt on a number of occasions. So wasn't the greatest fight you've ever seen. Certainly, I'm not going to be petitioning the UFC like, hey, no, we need 10 more Dusko Todorovic fights. It wasn't a great fight like that, but I thought he did enough to win the fight. I thought he deserved the nod there. So
yeah,
tough breaks for him. Why don't we do a quick little scan back through the card, my man? We can talk about any fights that you want, but right now we're going to have, I'm sure, like a 10-minute break here from UFC fights because Dustin Jacobe just crunched the time slot for him. 6-fight main card here, and we're already through the first 3. We've got Ketlen Vieira getting the nod over Maycee Chiasson just 1 fight prior. How do you feel about that fight, my man? I think a lot of people, myself included, were bullish on the form that Maycee had been showing in her recent fights relative to maybe what Ketlen had been showing in terms of enthusiasm, in terms of will to win, want to be there. There's been some times where round 3 gets sketchy for Ketlen Vieira, right? We saw it against Yana Kunitskaya back in the day. But frankly, man, when they said it was a 145-pound fight, one of those fighters looked like a 145-pound fighter, man. And it was not Maycee Chiasson. Ketlen Vieira looked big. She looked strong. She looked thudding on the feet. But the game plan was what was crazy to me, dude. Like, you think Maycee Chiasson, maybe you go for 1 takedown attempt in the second round and you learn your lesson, right? She comes out and does the exact same thing in their third round and gives up another, kind of easy money takedown. And it just seems so foolish to me, man. Like, the whole game plan from just a casual perspective would be, you want to put some damage on her. You want to put some doubt in her mind. You want to give some pressure. And instead she's going for these takedowns from a mile away. She's a big giraffe-like person. I say this as a compliment, right? She's got this huge frame. What are you doing bending down looking for single legs and getting absolutely tossed? And, if there's one thing that's certified about Ketlen Vieira's game, it's her ground game. It's very, very good. We knew that coming in. And so instead of Maycee Chiasson making it about who wants it more on the feet over the course of 15 minutes, which I think is a fight she could win, she instead goes, I'm going to go kamikaze takedowns and just gives up a couple easy ones. So for me, that was a little bit disappointing.
That shit was boring.
Yeah, it wasn't a great fight to watch either. Ketlen, if you have to make a criticism, man, she's just not a finisher, right? Maycee, when she wins fights, she puts up a lot of points on fantasy. She finishes people. She's that kind of girl. And on the other side, Ketlen can be a little bit hit and miss there, even in some of these fights, I've bet her in the past, like plus 200 against, who is that? Holly Holm. And that was certainly a controversial decision, but one that she ended up taking home. And then the Miesha Tate fight, which was kind of a drubbing. And I thought that was going to be easy work for her because Miesha relies on takedowns, right? And I thought in this fight, I was like, Maycee's not going to rely on takedowns. She's going to strike. And instead, she goes out there, shoots the worst takedowns of her career.
Holy shit, bro. My computer is spazzing. I got to literally just log out real quick and log back on. And I just
absolutely, man. Take your time. I can hit the old monologue. We've got 3 fights still to talk about on the card. So you said to take you out, right, buddy?
Yeah. I was going to say,
All
I
right.
just got the ESPN Plus fix. So my man is locked in. Nice. I just need to fix my computer now because this shit is doing the 1980s disco right now. I have no clue what's going on. Be right back.
I got you. Take your time. We are back to the solo stream, guys, and we will offer alternate commentary. We will talk about the betting slate. We'll talk about anything you guys want. So go ahead and fire away in the chat. Happy to engage with what you guys have to say. Ultimately, though, I think that we've had a really weird run out of fights, right? If you go back and look, Dustin Jacobe, like I said, that one according to plan, right? I think a lot of people chalk that one up to Dustin Jacobe probably going to go out there, get the job done, probably going to get it done in the first couple rounds with the knockout punching. Ketlen went out there, did her thing. I thought she won it 29-28. At least, a 30-27 I thought was on the table. The damaging blows I thought in the third round probably came from Maycee, but just a little bit of too little, too late. Not a great game plan. Then you look at the Zach Reese fight. I don't agree with that decision. I thought Dusko should have won that decision. A little bit biased there. I had a very small wager on him plus 260, but ultimately you look at Zach Reese and what he accomplished. He did decent work over the course of 15 minutes. The guy's clearly getting better. He did some good off-balancing work from the bottom position, but there was a lot of red flags, in my opinion, still. He was getting hurt badly in that fight as well. You go back and look at the Alan Nascimento-Jafel Filo fight. It's so funny. I said in the Patreon chat after round 1, I was like, this is Jafel Filo's fight to lose. And he goes out there and loses it. It was unbelievable, man. He had a lot of great positions in the first round. I thought he should have prioritized damage. I always think that in the first round, when you're really dry and you get to a great dominant position, you want to maximize the damage you could do on top, get your opponent tired, get them in a mind space where they want to quit, where they want to give up. It's very difficult to submit a high-level black belt. So I think that there were some mistakes made there. We'll go back to the full card recap when we get time, but right now I'm seeing they already got the next guys in the corral, so we're happy to talk about this fight coming up. We got Ramiz Brahimaj taking on Billy Ray Goff, and I think that this is a fascinating fight. When I look at Johnny in the chat saying Billy Ray round 2 or 3 KO at plus 350. I definitely don't hate that look. I see where you're coming from. If we go back, I will pull my article just so I have a point of reference here to talk about on the show. Billy Ray Goff defeats Ramiz Brahimaj via round 2, 3, or unanimous decision. That was the official prediction for Roto Grinders for me. I got to be honest, guys, this has not been my best night of predictions. I didn't feel great about this card as a betting slate. Or in terms of my predictions personally, I wasn't as bullish on some of these fights, and a couple of them played out close, but ultimately did not go the way that I thought. So got to acknowledge, celebrate the wins, like I always say, but also own the losses. And was not my night on all these predictions. So I'll always tell you guys the ones we get right, the ones we get wrong. And Dustin Jacobe was one that we got right. Now looking ahead to this Billy Ray Goff fight, I took him round 2, 3 or decision, but I want to acknowledge, I think Ramiz is a dangerous fighter in the first round. I think he's a very front-loaded fighter in terms of his larger sample of work. You look at that knockout he produced in his last fight, it was sensational. Looked very good in that fight, landed some big shots on Mickey Gall, put him down. Not an easy thing to do. Mike Malott and Mickey Gall were having some contentious exchanges, going back and forth, landing big shots on each other before Mike was able to put him down. So you look, it's not easy to just beat up on Mickey Gall every time. And we saw Ramiz go out there and do some work with the hands, kind of look sharper than ever in the boxing phase. And when you look at this fight, I think the way Ramiz would win this fight is by getting an early finish, being opportunistic. I will admit earlier in the week, I saw Ramiz by KO at 13-1. I missed the boat on that, but I was at least tempted on that number just because at the end of the day, guys, these are 170-pound men. If they're going to punch each other in the head, neck, and chest, somebody could get knocked out at any point. It's a dangerous game that they're playing. And I do think when you look at what Billy does very well, he establishes pace. He keeps pushing forward. He makes good reads on the feet. I loved in the Kinoshita fight what you saw from him. He goes for a hook to the body. It gets blocked. So then he goes for a feint, throws the straight right hand to the body. It puts Kinoshita on the ground. I thought that was a good adjustment in real time. The guy's making reads. He's not just throwing to throw. So I look at, what Billy does, and I think that it builds better over 15 minutes. I think he's got the right game to take over this fight the longer that it takes place. That's why I like that angle. However, we've seen that Ramiz is a guy that's pretty tough, man. He will go to the final bell sometimes in fights that aren't going his way. The fight that's really concerning from his sample size, the reason I couldn't get behind him as an underdog here, even though I think he's got, an ability to make this fight look closer in the first round, it is because he didn't land any strikes against Temba Garimbo over the course of 15 minutes. He basically was rendered neutral. And that's not the kind of fighters that I'm looking to bet on. I bet on Michael Aswell earlier, and he did not win the fight. But he fought hard for my dollar. He continued to push forward. He's got a great chin. He's got great volume and output. Those are the kind of things I look for when I want to bet on somebody. And you look at a guy like Ramiz, I'm not saying he's got a bad chin or anything like that, but the reliable output is something that I didn't see from Ramiz in his sample size. He's a guy that tends to rely on needing big positions, dominant finishes. And there's nothing wrong with that when you get them. But when you don't get them, guys that build, guys that throw a lot of strikes, guys that attempt a lot of offense, guys that keep pushing their offense into the second and third round at a heavier clip, those are guys that tend to break through in those kind of fights. So for me, I feel like this is Billy's opportunity to prove that he is who he thinks he is, that he was on the regional scene, that he was in his first UFC fight. You look at what happened to him. He goes out there against Trey Waters, and Trey's now 2-0 in the UFC. He's got a high ceiling. He's a dangerous guy. You look back at his loss on Contender. He was doing very well against Bonfim, put himself in one bad position and got caught there. But Trey Waters is a big welterweight. He's very long. He's very awkward. And we saw that Billy was still able to get off on a lot of volume in that fight. He was still able to have a lot of success in that fight despite being the smaller man. Now he's in a much more commensurate fight in terms of the size of these two individuals. So I think that Terps in the chat makes an interesting point about Ramiz via sub. For me, I haven't seen enough submission dominance from Ramiz at this level. When I look at the guys that he's defeating, with all due respect, I think they have been some of the lower echelon guys in the UFC. When you look at Sasha Palatnikov, for example, no longer with the promotion. I'm trying to think back. I think it was Michael Gilmore, a guy that was a not very talented member of the Ultimate Fighter roster that Brian Battle ended up winning that season. But Michael Gilmore's a tough guy, but he just was not suited for the UFC level. He was not a good enough athlete. He was a little bit too old when he got here. So for me, Ramiz kind of fed off some guys that I expected him to beat. I had money on Ramiz in some of those spots as well, but he's dealt with some things outside the cage, some inactivity, some health concerns, and all that can be difficult, right? And maybe he shows a better product, right? A renewed confidence. He went out there, he got a huge win. He got some, momentum back, some money, some things that are important for an athlete's career that we don't always talk about. However, on the other side, Billy is a guy that I think the UFC is trying to position as, hey, let's see if we can get this guy some momentum. Let's see if we can get this guy, a good little streak, because he fights in a style that they really like to see. All activity, all action, coming forward, taking risks, putting himself in good positions, bad positions, always looking to make opportunities to fight happen. And I think that for Ramiz, that kind of fight with Temba is not the thing that gets the UFC knocking on your door, right? Obviously, he goes out there, he gets the big win over Mickey Gall. Your fortune can change in an instant in this sport. If he gets another big knockout over Billy Ray Goff, we're having a whole different conversation. But it's always, for me, have you proven something, right? And when you're talking about a plus 350, you could take a little bit more of a risk, right? If you want to just say, hey, I'm leaning with Ramiz here. He's a massive underdog. He's got some UFC experience under his belt. I'm going to take a chance. I don't think there's anything wrong with that long term. If you're playing those kind of dog opportunities on a consistent basis where you feel there's value. That being said, I say ABCs say always bet on cardio, right? John Anik, a common refrain that I have made part of my parlance because I think it's so important. And when you look at the ABCs of this matchup, I think Billy Ray Goff is the guy that checks the box there as having a little bit better cardio, a little bit more proven conditioning over the course of the 15 minutes. And that could pay dividends if this fight gets difficult. So in the first round, it's anybody's ball game. They're going to be swinging, crazy clubs. I don't think defense is going to be a huge priority, but this feels to me like a very violent fight where, we can see this boil over, at any point. I think both these guys are going to come out swinging with a lot to prove. My guy Monotone says, just rooting for action. Didn't bet anything outside of Gamrot tonight. Hey, my brother, $1 saved is $1 earned. I wish you the best of luck. That fight has absolutely confounded my brain. I felt like Nascimento Jafel Filo was a confounding fight for me this week. Very difficult to call. Two guys I really respect their ground game. And in the same regard, I went back and taped Ludovic Klein so deep, and he does not have anybody of the level of Mateusz Gamrot. But he does fight like an absolute dog, and he has shown me that ability to defend takedowns at a very high clip. So I'm so fascinated by that fight. Mateusz Gamrot is one of these guys I love because he goes to a unique approach, right? A lot of guys do not shoot low single legs in mixed martial arts. He fights outside of the MMA meta. His grappling is sensational. I've been watching his matches since, oh, wow. My guy, Nate, congratulations to the Indiana Pacers. No quit in New York. They forced the game 6, but it was Indiana's time. So God bless and good luck. My guy DJ said the exact truth. He said, getting rinsed tonight. I'm so sorry to hear that, my brother. He said, knew it was a possibility with this type of card. I couldn't agree more. These kind of cards always inherently volatile. Sometimes they can offer the highest highs, but also, they can just have some really tough, ugly runouts. And I think when you get fighters that fight a little bit inconsistently, how about Alan Nascimento? How do you cap a guy that only fights every couple of years? Very difficult to do. So I think that anybody who's profited on this card, God bless you. Very well done. And as far as I'm concerned, you always got to take it one event, one fight at a time. And if you don't feel it, don't force it. For me, I didn't feel a lot this week. If I could have tracked anything, it would have been Michael Aswell. They closed the tracking for BetMMA at like 5 p.m. Eastern. And the card didn't start till 6:30. So normally it's like half hour, 5-10 minutes before the first fight. And instead it was an hour and a half this time. So wasn't able to track it, but I will take the L on Michael Aswell. But other than that, I just didn't feel like anything else stood out to me as like, this is clear value where I need to get involved. And that was for me a big, a big red flag for this card. I just didn't want to force it. So I already got some stuff for next week. Yo, shout out to our guy, Nate Brown. He is not only winning, but he's sharing the love. Thank you so much, my brother. Absolute gem of a person. Nate has been one of the guys that has contributed so much. We've been cashing. Max Holloway is, the profile picture there that you see for our guy. And we absolutely cashed in. One of our favorite bets of all time, Max Holloway inside the distance against Gaethje. But right now, guys, we got a fight to call, so it's right back to it. Ramiz Brahimaj with the takedown, 4:22 on the clock. Ramiz Brahimaj looking to establish top position. Very good job sealing off from Billy Goff. So Billy Goff right now is working his way up along the fence line. He looks calm. He looks poised. He looks patient. Ramiz Brahimaj on the other side, he is doing a great job. He's got two hands around a lock. He's looking for this outside hip position. I think he's going to try to chop out the feet of Billy Goff, but Billy Goff's doing a good job keeping a wide base. Nice job from Ramiz trying to get a hook in. However, we did see Billy do a good job repositioning. Nice shot by Ramiz, centering himself on the back. He's done an excellent job transitioning here. Billy is in a whole world of trouble. He needs to be very careful and make great decisions right now. He needs to get two hands on one wrist, in my humble opinion. Right now, he's in a dire situation with both hooks in from Ramiz Brahimaj. He's done a great job getting to a quad pod position, but you're seeing a good job hand fighting from Ramiz. Ramiz is doing a good job interrupting his posture, interrupting his wrists, looking for position on the face. But I will say surviving that earliest storm is the most important part. Right now, I think at 319, 318, 317, we have seen the best of Ramiz Brahimaj already. Can he do it again? That is the ultimate question because Billy Ray Goff responded the first time excellent, and he's worked his way back up to his feet. This is where Billy Ray Goff will be tested in this fight. I said before the fight, Ramiz Brahimaj is somebody you have to take seriously on the mat. His skills are very serious, but he is a guy that front loads his success. And I think you saw it right there. He forced the positions. He did a good job. He got physical with him, but right now he's giving up double underhooks. He's conceding bad positions, and he does appear to be fatiguing, in my humble opinion, at the 244 mark. You're seeing Billy Ray Goff chip away with knees to the body. Smart decision. He's got great head position right now along the fence. And what you'll see is that he's collapsing his elbows inside. When he stopped doing that, he lost the position. You need to collapse your elbows inside to keep these tight underhooks. Now he's got back to a tight double underhook position. He's using his head position to keep Ramiz chin up along the fence line. I think this is a very smart pressuring approach from Billy Ray Goff. He will have to do a little bit more to win back this round, but he's doing an excellent job controlling the position, dictating to Ramiz Brahimaj, and answering the call. A guillotine transition here from Ramiz. This could be trouble. Goff could be in trouble here. Nice job popping his head. Excellent job. Ramiz oversold on that, and he did not have the position. Although now this ninja choke could be better. This ninja choke could be better. This could be a huge problem. Oh, Goff is in huge trouble. Goff is in huge trouble. He's in a deep guillotine. He might be out. He might be out. He's out. Oh, my goodness. Ramiz Brahimaj, that was sensational. Ramiz Brahimaj had one opportunity. He went for the choke. He did not quite get it. And did you see what he did to adjust? Oh, my goodness, guys. I've said it a million times if I hadn't. He goes to the ninja. The ninja is just too good. Oh, my Lord. Ramiz Brahimaj with the ninja choke. Unbelievable. Switched it off. Went to the guillotine. I believe he even switched to high elbow at one point. Oh, my goodness. Shout out to Terps in the chat. He called the sub. That was unbelievable. That was beautiful. That's why there was value on the dog there. In that first round, he is unbelievable. Billy was fighting the right fight. He was being smart. He was being judicious with his energy. He made one horrible decision. He put his head in the hole. And if you're going against a guy that knows what they're doing with that front headlock, man, even one time could be enough. He was put to sleep. Ramiz Brahimaj, that was the choke of the night. That was the performance of the night so far. Billy Ray Goff came in with a lot of hype. And that ninja choke, he basically goes, guys, to a prayer grip, right? So instead of a traditional ninja choke, watch what he does. Oh, sensational. I'm so happy to talk about these details. Guys, when you watch what happens, instead of a ninja choke, I'm going to correct the record. I was wrong. It's a prayer grip. and it's another one of my favorites, but they're very similar in nature. When you look at how he was able to do it, right? What we saw from Ramiz is he gets to his front headlock situation, okay? When you're in the front headlock, you want to go here, right? You want to slide across to this ninja choke variety. That's one way to finish, right? But what he instead did, he goes prayer grip here. So he's choking the head here. He's squeezing up very tight, right? And then as he's able to get his position, watch what he does to adjust. He switches the grip. He comes up, high elbow, even, a more brutal variation, guys. For me personally, my shoulders are a little finicky. I don't like to be going super high elbow all the time because it kind of jams up my shoulders. I don't really love the feeling. However, those short chokes are just, they can be so devastating and so quick, right? And I really thought that you've got to take the credit and just give it to Ramiz Brahimage. You got to give the credit to Ramiz Brahimage. That was sensational. He looked like he was starting to fatigue. He looked like he was maybe feeling sorry for himself. But after having the back and losing it, he got right after that choke. That was sensational. And honestly, I don't think that speaks poorly of Billy Ray Goff. I really don't. I think what we need to take away from that is that Ramiz Brahimage is back. He's healthy, and he's ready to fight right now. That was the best performance of Ramiz Brahimage's career. If he can get some cardio behind him, we'd love to see what he can do at the top of this division, because last fight, he showed the hands. He showed where he was at. In this fight, he got to his wrestling. He got a nice takedown. He got a nice back take. Looked like he was ready to take over there. Didn't quite get it, right? But didn't panic. Got back up to his feet. And when he got an opportunity, he cinched it in, and man, he didn't let it go. By the way, he even went to that first guillotine. It didn't work, and he re-cinched it. It's the importance of not settling for a bad position. If he had sat to his butt and tried to finish that guillotine, he would have lost it all, and he probably would have given up the top position, right? And instead, what did he do? He got back to his feet. He got back to a position of leverage, his hips over the top, his head over the top. Then he went for the guillotine, and he got the finish. Sensational. Wow. Put him to sleep. Welcome back. I know it's your head. That's something that you probably love to see, my man. What do you think of that choke? And in my opinion, the best performance of Ramiz Brahimage's career.
I think if you listen to Jewish Better, I said if you were going to fucking bet on this fight, the only bet you could take is Ramiz Brahimage round 1. And that is exactly why, folks. Trey Waters almost had this guy in a submission in round 1. And you're telling me Ramiz fucking Brahimage can't submit him? Stop it. Stop it. That's a parlay.
I really thought that Billy was going to be able to put that pace on as it went on, and he was doing a lot of the right things. Holy smokes. That was so impressive to me, man.
You can't make a mistake versus a guy like that. Not in round 1.
That's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. You can't make that mistake in round 1. Yo, also shout out to Themba Gorimbo, who never gets any love, but he absolutely dominated Ramiz Brahimage for the entirety of 15 minutes, and I think that should go back in the records as like, wow, that's aging well for Themba Gorimbo. But also, we also got to think about our guy Vicente Luque, big underdog next week at the pay-per-view. But I think rightfully so. I think Kevin's in a good situation there.
Interesting one. I like Kevin personally, but line has gotten a little bit out of hand. We'll see though.
Tend to agree.
I'm a little pissed I didn't bet that one, but hey, it is what it is. Hindsight's 20/20, all right.
Yeah, and you know, when I look at a card like this, I would rather keep my hands clean than have just the wrong ones. Because like again, I wasn't highlighting Ramiz as like my top go-to dogs because of the cardio. Yeah. Right? Cardio is always a big concern for me, and we always talk about though the reason why you can't lay a big favorite pre-fight if you don't think they're going to win the first round, right? It's like that is always a flaw. I think it's like you have to think that somebody's going to dominate from pillar to post in a lot of ways to feel good about laying the chalk price. Just because I thought Billy was doing a lot of the right things, but round 1 for Ramiz, he's pretty dangerous against most guys, and that was really well played by Ramiz. Yeah, very well played.
Dude, I wasn't interested in the money line in all honesty, which is I didn't take it, Stephen Jackson. I didn't bet it. But I also didn't bet Dusko decision, and I would have probably been fucking punching a wall after that one. So
dude, That's the whole thing. This game gives and it takes away. I think Ramiz right now is cutting excuse my language, guys. I think he's cutting a profanity-laced promo right now, and I think that that's a good thing. So rock and roll. Ramiz Brahimage doing his thing. Hats off to him. And the guy basically was, left for dead in terms of where people thought he was as a welterweight prospect. And I did say when he got to the UFC, I just thought like having a really good blue belt game was not going to translate well to winning UFC fights against good guys. And I think that was accurate. But now he's got so much more time in the game, so much more comfort on the mat. And I think that the old Ramiz, if he didn't get that first sub, might have got down on himself and maybe collapsed. And I feel like what we saw there was a much more mature performance where he just knew eventually I will get my opportunity. I don't need to force this one. I will find it. And he got it. That was really, really good. Hats off to him, man.
Yeah, man, I gotta fucking, my wiener just shrinked another inch since I didn't take it.
Hey, well, my guy Z's MMA, one of the first guys who got me, on these streams and stuff back in the day, he used to say passing a win is worse than a loss. And there's definitely some truth to that in terms of how it feels, but I believe in the mantra, a dollar saved is a dollar earned. So I'd rather, if I don't have the greatest read, to just learn the information, right? Because now I know I got to give a little bit more respect even to Ramiz in the first round than I even did today. I thought that was something you had to take seriously, but the submission grappling I thought looked very, very good today. Because honestly, I think Waters is not a bad grappler either, man. If you go back and look, Waters was getting great positions on Bonfim. He just made one critical mistake, and Bonfim is another one of these first-round guys, right? Where if you make one mistake in the first round, he's going to put you away. So
he will. That's for sure. I got to go get a lighter. Be right back.
Heck yeah, man. I'll bounce you to your back. In the meantime, want to shout out all 33 people watching live. We're doing alternate commentary, guys. We got the co-main event coming up next. And I will say this. I believe that there's going to be sharp money on both sides of this next fight. I think the majority of sharp money is probably on the Gamrot side, which is why the line looks the way it does. I think that the betting action on this fight is probably somewhere close to 50-50 if I had to guess. And when I look at a fight like Mateusz Gamrot and Ludwig Klein, it is a prove-it spot for Ludwig Klein. He's getting underdog odds as a result, right? He is the less proven guy. You look at Mateusz Gamrot, he's a champion in other organizations. He's had a lengthy career, and he's an incredible wrestler. He's got an ADCC level pedigree. He was a qualifier through the European trials. So you look at a guy like Mateusz Gamrot, and you have nothing but respect for a career like that. However, he's starting to get up there in age. He's definitely taken a lot of damage over the course of his career. And Ludwig Klein is an incredibly dangerous southpaw striker that has incredible takedown defense. And you look at Mateusz Gamrot and what he brings to the table, he is going to be the hardest test for Ludwig Klein's takedown defense in his career, in my humble opinion. And when you look at what happened there, a guy like Mateusz Gamrot is going to fire volume attempts. He's going to mix it up with his striking on the feet, and he's going to try to get a pace going that you can't sustain. And I think the number one thing that has gotten to Ludwig Klein in the past has been pace. That being said, when you look at how he's managed his recent fights, he's done an incredible job. He hurt Thiago Moises badly in the first round. He hurt him again badly in the third round. He dominated for large portions. He took down Thiago Moises. And I've heard people talking this week like Thiago Moises forgot how to fight or something. And when you look back, Thiago Moises, guys, took down Islam Makhachev. He's one of two guys in the UFC's history to do that. So when you're talking about who he's fought, he has fought a couple guys like Mason Jones, black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, black belt in judo, guys that have the credentials, guys that go out there and attempt many takedowns against him. They're not able to get it, right? 2 black belts. I believe he held him to 0-11 by takedowns. So when you look at Ludwig Klein, I think he's going to present some interesting problems for Gamrot. If he threw more knees up the middle, I would prefer that. He doesn't throw as many as I would like, but he does have real, skills, right? And he's got a dangerous southpaw high kick. He puts a lot of power on his shots. If he backs you up to the fence, he throws big body shots and he makes you pay. And I think a lot of guys chase Gamrot around and try and hit him in the head. And his head is a moving target. He drops it down low. He tries to fire these low singles. I think you got to beat this guy up to the body. I think you got to sprawl on him. You got to make him hold some of your weight. You got to beat him up with elbows, with short shots. you got to make him work. So that way he's not getting free offense off on you. And I think Ludovic Klein is capable of winning this fight, but I didn't have enough conviction to get to the window. So my pick here was actually Ludovic Klein. I think he's going to get the biggest win of his career, but I acknowledge Mateusz Gamrot has fought the higher level of opposition. It's just that when I've seen him fight these guys, I've seen some vulnerabilities that I think Ludovic could take advantage of. And when you look at some of these matchups, RDA is up there in age, and I thought he was going to have a lot of success against Mateusz Gamrot, and I thought that he did, So ultimately, I have a lot of respect for Gamrot. I think he comes from a great gym. I think both these guys are absolutely sauced to the gills, but they're both guys that have different skill sets that clash with each other. And I just think when you're seeing a guy in Ludovic Klein coming into his own prime of his career, best fights ahead of him, in my opinion. And I don't know if that's true for Mateusz Gamrot. So that was ultimately what led me to picking Ludovic Klein, but I didn't endorse that opinion with cash. So you can take it for whatever it's worth, right? I guess not much, but ultimately I'm fascinated by this fight. I think this is one of the 3 best fights on the card, no doubt about that. And arguably the best match made fight on the card, because we're going to get answers about one of these guys at least. Wanted to shout out our guy, Jewish Better. He's back in the building. Wanted to shout out our guy, Capping Service, in the chat. He says, feels like that fight was more about Goff being dumb than Ramiz dominance. Honestly, I thought he was doing a lot of the right things, Capping Service, but, Ramiz was pretty insistent on that front headlock. Do I think it was a mistake to shoot those takedowns? Yes. But I also feel like Ramiz was doing a really good job forcing his head down. And when guys get their head forced down, a lot of their first reaction is to shoot deeper into the takedown. And against a really good front headlock guy, that could be a problem. So I thought we saw Ramiz kind of show his back class in the jiu-jitsu there. And ultimately, I do think that there were some mistakes made by Goff, but I felt like it was a combination of both those factors. So fair play there. It wasn't the greatest decision. However, I thought he was fighting really well up to that point. So I thought he made a lot of good decisions in a tough fight. Where he got in a bad spot early, recovered, got back up to his feet, was showing a lot of poise. But I always say there's one thing you can't be a tough guy about, right? Billy, the thing he's made a career on is being tough as shit, right? You hit him in the head with a brick, the guy keeps coming forward. But, man, you can't tough guy a choke. You just go to sleep like everybody else. I've said it a million times on this show. And he got put in a really deep choke, and it only took maybe 5-6 seconds. He was snoring, man. That's crazy. I credit the squeeze a little bit there and the adjustments of Ramiz as well, but I think there was a bit of both. I'm
just gonna sit here and sulk in my amazing breakdown that I did, dude. I made such a case for it. Fucking bro, the both my fucking other guests. I mean, not guests, but host and
analysts.
Yeah, exactly. Fucking bet in. I'm just sitting here with my thumb in my butt, like, what the hell? What are you doing, JB? What are you doing? Lesson learned.
It happens to the best of us, my man. No worries there.
It was just a good number. Round 1, like plus 1100. How do you hate on that for Ramiz? Like,
oh, of course. No, I mean that's a sensational number. Also, the UFC wouldn't have made this match and given Klein this opportunity if they didn't want him to win. Yeah, I think there's a little bit of truth to that. But I also think the UFC is a two-way street, right? Ludovic Klein right now is the hotness coming in here, right? He's got a lot of momentum. But how has he lost throughout his career? This is something I think people don't take enough account into, but they should. He's been finished a number of times, right? And so if Mateusz Gamrot is to break through in the lightweight title picture, it's not going to come by getting decisions against wily veterans. It's going to come by him breaking through and getting a finish of his own. The ADCC medalist takes down the guy who got submitted by Nate Landwehr and gets the sub. That's the bullish case for a guy like Gamrot. But on the other side, you see a guy like Ludovic Klein, who's a dangerous knockout artist, and a guy who's been hurt in all of his recent fights. And you say to yourself, man, I wonder what the UFC is doing here. They're in a no-lose situation as far as they see it. Right, we either get the truth about this guy, which is he's not on this level, so we're going to push him back down a rung. We're going to make him the guy that tests other guys coming in, or we're going to find out that he's the one. Or we're going to get a great fight that tells us, hey, if he gets 1, 2, 3 more fights, then he'll be ready. But he's just not there yet. So this fight just tells us so much about both guys, and that, in my opinion, is why it is great matchmaking. Shout out to the chat here. My guy, Capping Service says, yeah, nasty squeeze. I mean, credit to him. If Goff separates after the first grappling exchange, it's a different fight for sure. I tend to agree with that, actually. That would have been a smarter decision. But I also think hindsight's 2020, right? Because I thought he was wearing him down. I thought Ramiz looked tired. But I guess it would have made more sense to just chip away with body work from the outside, maybe some low kicks, maybe not get so close to a guy that's that dangerous in close. I think that's fair play. Shout out to Steven Jackson in the chat. Says, I'm with you, but I don't see much finish equity from Gamrot. I hear that, but you got to look at these guys he's fighting. Like, you're going to submit Beneil Dariush. You're going to submit Rafael Dos Anjos. Like, these are guys that, like, just simply have a level of class on the ground that's hard to, frankly, articulate in short order. And I think that when I look at a guy like Klein, he's certainly very good at D'ing up takedowns, but, like, do I think that he's going to go enter the ADCCs and go win the European trials or something? No, I do not, personally. So, also, shout out to Capping Service in the chat. Says he's on Gamrot 2-3 years. Please go ahead, buddy.
I would, if I was going to do that, maybe I would just, like, look to ladder it. I think he could maybe find a finish in round one, as stupid as that sounds. Like, we just seen kind of meme shit, depending on the numbers. And I like the 2-3, like, instead of the 2-3 sub, because I think it could be a KO. We just seen crazy shit, bro. This guy lifts Rafael Fizie's fucking leg so far up in the air, he fucking tears his ACL, you know? It's like, he needs Diego Ferreira in the fucking ribs. And
dude, that was the anecdote I was going to give. One of the worst beats of my entire betting life. I had plus 2,500. Mateusz Gamrot, sub round 2 against Carlos Diego Ferreira. And I just thought it was all based on pace. I was like, if they just grapple in the first round, it's anybody's ball game. But I was like, if you give this a long-term trajectory, the guy who's on top, who's just going nonstop pace, who's on every steroid known to man, I'm like, give me that guy in that fight. And he has it, guys. I'm telling you, he hits him with a knee to the body, locks in a rear naked choke, and our dude looks up in the rear naked choke and points to the ref and goes, my ribs. And then they call it a TKO and stop the fight. My man was in a fully locked in rear naked choke. I could not believe what I was witnessing. So ultimately, guys, fascinating fight. Tail of the tape is on screen right now for me. We got 34 years of age for the favorite, Mateusz Gamrot, 24-3. We've got the underdog, plus 130, Ludwig Klein, and he is 30 years of age, 5'7", so a little bit shorter than Gamrot in this fight, but he will have a 2.5-inch reach advantage on the other side. So fascinating fight, well matched. We're going to find out. We're going to learn something about these guys right now. Bless you, by the way, my man. I heard you on that struggle bus over there.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. I appreciate that. Hey, dude, I agree with you, MMA guy, and that was my dude. When you see the video of my read on the fight, you're gonna be like, lucrative, and the other guy also made a case, but I was just like, bro, this is gonna happen, blah blah blah. Like, I fucking planted my flag, and then I just never even got to it. Like, isn't that crazy how we could do that? Like, it's nuts.
I can't tell you how many times I have done that, where I'm like passionate about an underdog on, a show or something, and then I don't get there, and then I watch it play out exactly as I thought.
It's gutting. So
it is one of the worst feelings, but ultimately, if you can't justify it beforehand, or you can't like stomach it, then you got to just say after the fact, like, hindsight is telling me this was easier than it was, because you knew going in there were some risks, right? We ultimately just got to say, like, that's why I believe in sacrificing, because you can't control it, right? It's like some of the time, even if you make the right bet, the right read, you still get screwed by the judges or whatever it is. So you got to just chalk up to, am I comfortable placing this bet long term? Do I think it's a sound bet long term? And if you do that, you put yourself in a good spot. But right now, forget the bets. Time for the banter. We've got Ludwig Klein in the white trunks, black trunks for Mateusz Gamrot. And here we go. We are off to the races, guys. I am fired up for this one. We've got Ludwig Klein backing up a little bit, and we've got Gamrot advancing. 442, 41, 40, just so you guys have some perspective on time. Nice shot to the body by Ludwig Klein, but he has been rendered on the back foot so far. I'd like to see a little bit of pressure from Klein, but he's an excellent counter striker, so interesting dynamic here. Gamrot is the one doing a lot of the advancing right now. Nice inside low kick from Gamrot. Very smart strike to get Klein out of his stance. Klein quickly back to his stance. A lot of lateral footwork, feints from Ludovic Klein early. Head kick falls just short for Gamrot. Klein seems to have read it very well. His eyes are open in these exchanges. Nice intercepting knee attempt from Ludovic Klein, and he gives him a smile, a wry smile after. I like that from Ludovic Klein. He let him know, hey, there's some danger on the other side if you want to shoot these takedowns. I think that's so important to establish early in the fight. 3:52, 51, 50 on the clock. We've got Ludovic Klein doing some retreating. Another evaded kick. Mateusz Gamrot's doing a good job occupying the center, being a presence coming forward. But right now, he's fallen just short on a lot of his strikes. Klein's showing him a lot of feints, a lot of movement. Nice job with the 1-2 down the middle. Oh, and he seems, maybe it was just a weird off balance there, but Gamrot did a little pause for the cause. Very strange. Let's see what happens here. Mateusz Gamrot kind of looked like he got caught like flat-footed for a second and got hit with a big shot. Oh, whoa. Mateusz Gamrot just did a little stumble, but now he's in on a beautiful shot. Excellent limp leg by Ludovic Klein. That was sensational. That's what I'm talking about when I say this guy's got great first layer takedown defense, but a nice job going to the second order takedown from Mateusz Gamrot. He gets to the hips, and now he's in on a beautiful takedown. That was what Mateusz Gamrot needed. He was starting to get found out on the feet, but now he's got an excellent single leg takedown. Klein did a great job using a limp leg to get out of the first one, but you saw an extended chain takedown from Mateusz Gamrot. He went to the under grip on the ankle on the far side. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Now he's wrestled to a body lock. So Gamrot is throwing some knees to the body. That's a smart game plan, trying to chip away at Ludovic Klein early in this fight. Ludovic Klein's doing the right thing here, trying to get wide with his base, separate Gamrot's hands, and look to turn and face him. But right now, he's being rendered defensive and forced into the fence line. So he's got to turn around and get some offense going if he wants to get this round back, because Gamrot has done a good job now asserting himself. Please,
Ludovic Klein plus 280 on the live line.
Yeah, I do think Gamrot has taken over the nature of this round by getting this takedown position and holding it for this duration. He is not one of these guys that doesn't do offense when he has these positions, right? He starts chipping away with these little shots. He goes, knees to the body. I do think you're seeing Gamrot show a little bit of back class right now, showing his ability to get to these takedowns, showing his ability to work through these progressions in the wrestling. And Klein hasn't shown the ability to separate grips yet to the point where I would feel comfortable, because right now he's doing a good job of surviving, but I would like to see Ludovic Klein do a better job of turning to face. The one thing you cannot do and expect to beat your opponent is face the wrong direction, right? You got to be facing them. You got to get back to a good position. And right now, Mateusz Gamrot's looking to sneak a rear naked choke. He's looking to get a cheeky no hooks rear naked choke. Guys, watch this space, because he keeps pulling Ludovic Klein back and looking to clear his wrist grips. And I think he's just going to try and sneak a rear naked choke in because that's what he's looking for. You know, you're seeing Ludovic Klein do a good job riding with these wrists and moving, but Mateusz Gamrot is just doing so many smart things right now. He's making him wear his weight. He's putting these short knees to the body and chipping away at the cardio. And I just think that right now we're not seeing enough urgency to address these hand fighting scenarios from Ludovic Klein. What he does really well is D up the initial takedowns. But what we're seeing is you can render him a little bit more static when you get him in this extended situation. And now Gamrot's looking for the no hooks rear naked choke, just like I mentioned. He wasn't able to get it there, but he's looking for it. Do you guys see what he's doing? I do this as well sometimes when people are really insistent on being in turtle. I just try and yank them back. It's a suck back, we call it in wrestling. And instead of Gamrot looking for the suck back all the way to a flat back exposure, he's looking for half a suck back. So that way Ludovic Klein exposes the neck and he's able to hop underneath it. So I would say that was a very clean first round for Mateusz Gamrot, and hats off to the man, right? He was on the wrong end of some big shots, I felt like, in the first 2.5 minutes, and he completely turned it around, got to his takedowns, got on offense, started to dictate the pace and the pressure. And Ludovic Klein's going to need a much different second round. The apex in that round was a big factor, you know, where I think Ludovic Klein did a great job defending that first takedown. But what did we see? He kind of turned in, limp leg on that single, and Gamrot just didn't back up, right? He didn't say, oh, I failed. He went right back to it. So I think that this is where we're going to get answers about where Ludovic Klein's cardio is at. And Mateusz Gamrot, I got to just again, take my hat off to the guy. He responded well to adversity. Great response to adversity. That was unbelievable, man. Shout out to the chat as well. Let's see what you guys got to say. Our guy Capping Service says, minute 6 after heavy grappling. This is what I want to see. Absolutely. My guy JB, what do you got before this second round? What do you think needs to change, for Klein in this round?
Got to keep it standing, bro. Plus 750 on the live line now. Minus 1450 for Gamrot. So books think this is going to go his way, bro. I mean,
well, there was a huge mistake just made by Klein. He went for a kick to the body right off the rip, and now he's given up a takedown, man. We're looking at 438, and we already see Mateusz Gamrot not only with a takedown, but he's in a quite dominant side control position. He looks like he's going to step back over, content to play from this half guard, but I think that was a massive mistake from Ludovit Klein. The one thing he could not afford to do is come out and give up an easy takedown. And he basically went for a kick to the body, which is the number one way to give up that kind of opportunity. So real big mistake from Ludovit Klein, and an excellent job from Mateusz Gamrot right now on top. Mateusz is starting to use some shoulder pressure. He's starting to open up with these shots from on top a little bit as well, lefts and rights, just working over his opponent. And Ludovit Klein has become a little bit accepting of this bottom guard position. What he needs to do is he needs to start to get feet on hips, much like Maycee Chiasson. If you're not going to get feet on hips, you need to basically say, okay, well, the full guard isn't a great position for getting up. Let me start turning. Let me start getting sideways. He's now looking to set up perhaps an armbar from the stack guard, but Mateusz Gamrot is putting some weight on this guard of Ludovit Klein, and he's got to get explosive here. He's got an ability to get up, it felt like, and instead – again, he's been rendered flat on his back, so he's going to have to make some major adjustments here. Some big mistakes, I feel, from Ludovit Klein so far in this fight.
He's
the
cooked,
decision-making, yeah, I think he might be, man. It might just be Gamrot 2-3 after all. When you're looking at – I mean, that's possible as well for sure. But yeah. Right now, just the trend line is in such the wrong direction, right? Like Gamrot's starting to sneak in these elbows. He's starting to get a little bit more assertive with this top pressure. And you just have to imagine Ludovit Klein was expecting a different fight here. I think that he expected his footwork to be a little bit more effective. And I loved the footwork that we were seeing from him for the first few minutes. But since that first takedown, I feel like he's kind of been thrown off kilter. And I really don't love what I'm seeing from him off the ground, right? For example, not digging great underhooks. He did a good job creating some space and some opportunity there, goes for an elbow, but I really don't think that we've seen Ludovit Klein, really basically take a risk to get back up to your feet. I mean, at a certain point, what I want to see from my athlete, if they're in the bottom position, is get one knee shield, turn sideways, and make it a dogfight. Let's see if we can get up that way, right? It's like, I just don't want to see somebody lay on their back, man. And if you were on Ludovit Klein here, which I definitely I thought he was a live dog. I thought this was a very close fight. He has just been rendered defensive in this contest so far, and barring a ability to get back into this and make a huge rally, he's really blowing this opportunity. Biggest opportunity of his career. Guy has earned this step up in competition, went out there and won a lot of fights. But it's been very impressive that Mateusz Gamrot has not only taken him down, but held him down so easily. Now Ludovit Klein is starting to create some space, but it does look like he's just content to play off his back, man. It does not seem like he is showing enough urgency at all to get up. He's throwing these little kicks, flutter kicks from his back. He's going to get finished in the third round if he continues this nonsense. With all due respect.
I love your commentary, bro.
I mean, dude, it's just that shit's not going to get the job done, bro. If you're throwing freaking flutter kicks off your back,
I'm a little bit behind you, but I'm still enjoying it.
Yeah, Capping Service says Klein fighting like he's Gamrot's little brother right now. Yeah, he's fighting like Gamrot's little brother that never went to wrestling.
Yeah,
and Gamrot went to wrestling. I mean, it's so crazy because it does show the levels. I mean, Ludovit now is back up to his feet, and I want to give him some credit and respect, man. He was in Schitt's Creek without a paddle. He's now back up to his feet. He could still make some meaningful offense happen with 30 seconds left. But Mateusz Gamrot has just been setting the pace of this fight. It's been his fight, his dance since the 2.5 minute mark of the first round. And Ludovic Klein's going to need something big here, to punctuate round 2. Otherwise, he's going to need a big finish in this third frame. Oh, wow. Ludovic Klein went for a spinning kick that did look like a whip. Like it spun around fast, but unfortunately, it did not hit the target. Mateusz Gamrot, 2-0. And it's going to take a special effort from Ludovic Klein.
Imagine he Kamaru Usman's him in the third round, bro.
Anything's possible, man. We talk about mixed martial arts is a funny sport, and I look at Gamrot as a guy that's typically getting hurt in every fight. I feel like there's an argument he did get hurt in the first round of this fight, but his ability to rally and just stay so disciplined, there's a reason he's got such a great win-loss record over the course of his career, and it's because more often than not, he can just respond really well to adversity. Even, dude, if you think back, when he got hit by Beneil Dariush, it sounded like a gunshot went off. You guys can go back and watch that. It was like, padoosh! Like, it literally just explodes on his head. And he hits the ground and just gets right back up and starts bouncing around in his stance again. Like, he clearly lost the round because of that shot. But, dude, Gamrot's just, like, steady Eddie. Finds a way to get back on his offense. And against RDA, gets hit with a massive shot, then gets to the top position and absolutely dominates, So
Klein looks no, go ahead.
Oh, no, please, go ahead.
I'm just watching him go back to his corner. He kind of looks like he's kind of checked out.
My guy Monotone is sitting pretty right now, up 2 rounds with his Gamrot ticket, and he says he needs to get rocked to go into primal mode. Absolutely. The Gamer. It's such a fitting nickname. I've always loved that nickname. Mateusz Gamrot, he is a guy that will bite down on the mouthpiece and fight like a dog. So I always look for him at dog odds. And in this fight, I didn't get involved because
fight chalk, man. It
was
worth it.
That was beautiful. Oh my God, ninja choke attempt. Not gonna get it. But Ludovic Klein just got so sneaky with that ninja choke attempt. Nice job on the break. They both slammed each other. Dude, this fight is now picking up pace. It looks like Ludovic Klein read the takedown entry much better right there. And dude, he's throwing these left hands and these left high kicks like they're going out of style with reckless abandon. Coming forward with jabs. Ludovic Klein fighting for his life and his career right now.
That's what I'm saying, man. Let's go.
Let's find out. What a fight. Nice job, though. Cross to the body from Gamrot. Nice job spinning out of that takedown attempt from Klein. It was a caught kick, and he just spun out of it beautifully. He went for
maybe too little too late, though.
That's very possible. I mean, I think he's down. Oh, nice knee. Excellent intercepting knee from Ludovic Klein. Ludovic Klein needs this finish. He needs to go out there and find a big finish right now if he wants it. And Mateusz Gamrot holding on to this single. Ludovic Klein has done such a better job in this third round. It's so disappointing that he wasn't showing these instincts in the first 2. Wow. What a fight this has turned into. Mateusz Gamrot is now in a little bit of survival mode on the back pedal, but up 2 rounds. Nice job from Ludovic Klein finding that high kick. Now Gamrot answers with his own shots. Steady Mateusz Gamrot back on offense. Nice knee to the body from Ludovic Klein. He mixed up the target there. That was very smart. Gamrot back on the jab. Ludovic Klein is showing a lot of consistent offense in this third round. I gotta say, I'm impressed by his ability to get back. Wow. Oh, beautiful job though from Gamrot. What a nice combination from Gamrot. This is a high level fight now. Gamrot's sticking him with the jab, just knowing that he's got more in the tank. Touch. Klein
what a fucking fight, bro.
The high kick backed him up. Dude, Ludovic Klein is fucking fighting like his life depends on it. That's what I got to respect about this guy. Yep. He's taking some big shots. Gamrot does look like he's gassed.
He tried the left high kick like Leon. He tried the left high kick. Oh, my God. I almost called it.
He's going for him. He's going for him. He's swinging them things. These guys are both just absolutely trading now in the pocket.
If he knocks him out with like 2 seconds left, bro, this is going to be – you're going to have to clip this. And this is gonna be
dude, the left straight of – Klein is now finding the home pretty routinely. 2-11, 2-10. This fight is getting sensational. Started slow, getting sensational now.
Yeah.
Ludovic Klein has slowed down, though. He needs to find that second wind.
Right.
He's finding that left hand, but Gamrot just has so much more activity. Oh, the high kick. Bro,
crazy.
Gamrot just put that high kick off an inch of his shoulder, dude, or he might have been in the freaking first row. Wow. Ludovic Klein is trying anything he can think of right now. Teeps to the body, outside body kicks. He's going round. He's going linear. Oh, beautiful low single like from Gamrot. And Ludovic just spiked him on his head. Dude, Ludovic just hit the first DDT in MMA history. And God bless him for it, but he's going to lose this fight. Damn, dude. He went out swinging, though.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. What a fight. And you know what? I was saying before the fight, we're going to find out where Ludovic's at. The truth is, man, right now, he does not have it for these guys in the top 5 and the top 10. That's what we learned tonight. But at the end, getting some get back, having some moments, I do think that's the kind of thing that, he could bring forward with him. Still just 30 years of age, still got a lot of UFC experience under his belt, but right now he's learning. There are just levels in this wrestling and grappling game. And unfortunately, despite the fact that he did so much better in this third round, he's just running out of steam, and Mateusz Gamrot even may take over and win this third round now after all. Done a great job finding the top position when he needed it, doing a good job, not just getting to top position, but taking advantage, using his opportunities on top to damage with strikes, to pass, to be assertive. You got to just take your hat off to Mateusz Gamrot, a guy who continues to invest in himself, and his career, a guy that has been at the top of the game for a long time, still finding ways to make himself relevant. But the finishing has definitely been a work in progress. So,
yeah,
let's get him in these 5-round fights. I think he could definitely finish somebody, man.
Do you think, Gamrot's control looked a lot better today? Because that's always been a knock. He's not the best controlling grappler. Or do you think
I really think that is so insane too, man. I think that was largely a function of the guys that he's fighting. And that's why I thought this was a question mark, But you look at who he's trying to take down. Like, how do you take down and hold down Beneil Dariush? It's like nobody does. Nobody has. It's so hard. And a lot of these other guys that you're looking at that he's fighting, it's very hard to hold them down. But what he needed, what Gamrot needs to do is have somebody consistently wrestling and he can win, right? So it doesn't need to be successful attempts. But Rob Dvalishvili beat Jose Aldo 0-16 on takedown. He made him wrestle all night, So that's the kind of thing where I think in this fight, Ludovic did a lot of things right, but he spent too much time in negative position. Face into the cage, you're not going to win a fight like that. He's not, right? So he made some really bad tactical errors. I thought that first round, all he needed to do was avoid getting taken down. And again, easier said than done. But what I mean in terms of game planning is done some damage. You've landed some big shots. You need to grab underhooks and just try and not get taken down along the fence line and you're cool. But instead, I thought he took a lot of risks and got a little bit out over his skis. So, hey, hats off to Mateusz Gamrot. Real deal.
Yeah, man, that was a good
solid moments, but too big a step up. We'll probably take him next fight. Yeah, I agree. I bet Ludovic Klein as a dog in the past, but again, it was against lower level fighters. I think I got like plus 170 against Devontae Smith, all due respect, and he D'd up all those takedowns, right? But Mateusz Gamrot, different level, and showed it.
Who's going to win their next fight, bro?
What's that?
The Texas fucking kid is going to win his next fight. My God, Michael.
Absolutely. Michael Aswell.
Yes, sir.
So what is next for Mateusz Gamrot? It's not easy to say.
Dude. That's a fucking hard question. Armin again? Rematch? Nah.
I mean, I think that makes some sense, honestly. It was like a controversial outcome. They fought over 5. Let's make it over 5 again, and then the winner gets a title shot. And, I think that's totally fair play. And by the way, we've got Arman who's kind of like doing grappling matches off on the side, and maybe he's prepping for this Gamrot fight, So I think it's an interesting look. That's probably the way I would go. If I'm the matchmaker, right, that's how I would go.
Hell yeah, I'm gonna look at who else. Yeah, dude, who else? Like, he already fought Hooker. They're not gonna make that rematch. Poirier's done. Max, no. Gaethje, nah. Oliveira's fighting. Yeah, dude, Armin.
I mean, who's Gaethje fighting? Because Gaethje and Gamrot.
I was just thinking. I would think like the.
But I don't think the UFC wants Gaethje and Gamrot.
No, they want Patty and Gaethje. I think
that would be sweet.
That would be very smart of them.
Steven Jackson says Fiziev again. The problem is Fiziev's coming off a loss, so it would be kind of tough to get that one. The stakes for Gamrot, you know what I'm saying? Because Gamrot is just ahead of him, I think, right now in the contendership queue.
Can I say
by
something?
By a margin, actually. Yeah, go ahead.
Minty Betts, everyone always hates on her, dude. It's just like, dude, we don't gotta pay any attention, man. Just let her do her thing. It doesn't affect the fight, bro. And like, it's funny because like people either hate her or they like her. That's why she's on the TV, bro. Because
dude, you know what's funny? I am the rare person that's outside the traditional MMA market. I guarantee, because I am completely indifferent. Like I prefer when she's not on the same side as me for reasons that have nothing to do with her and have everything to do with the fact that she's promoting things for a sports book on television. It's just like, other than that, it's like, bro, I wish her well in life. Like, what? Like,
yeah, dude.
Everybody's trying to do their thing. God bless her. Yeah, that's all.
UFC not letting Justin get cooked. Agree, it's Patty. Yeah, just give him. No, what do you mean not letting Justin get cooked? Patty's gonna cook Justin, is what I'm saying. He's gonna take him down.
I think what he means is that they don't want Gamrot to go cook him, and because Gamrot doesn't really have the star potential. Whereas I do think Patty will also cook him, but he has the potential to be a star. So
facts.
For me, that's the difference there.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And Monotone, you can, of course, correct me if I'm wrong, brother.
No,
that's I definitely think that's possible.
Yeah.
Capping Service says, I'm on Barber here, but a boob job and a weight miss is about as big a red flag as you could get.
I'm gonna hop on after this fight, bro. If you don't mind, bro. If I could join back after, if you're down to talk some fights and stuff.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna basically just go use the bathroom, watch the fight, and then I'll come back on after. That way, you don't give me any spoilers for my bet. I'll sweat it out.
Oh, heck yeah, man. Much respect. So you can check back in with us after, all right?
Cool
Best of luck to you, my brother. We're rooting for you.
Go.
Of course. Peace. Y'all know what it is. The solo stream. We back at it. Hope that everybody's doing wonderfully well on this evening. It's been a light card for me. Only had the one bet on Michael as well. Did not go as well as I was expecting, but I still would place that bet 100 times out of 100. I thought there was value at plus 3XX. I ended up clicking at plus 430 when it got there, and I think it played out like a plus 150, plus 185, and I really think a large part of it was the fact he was on short notice. I didn't think that would be a factor coming in, but I thought Mike was untraditionally tired in that third round. Part of it was he was fighting a big guy who hits hard, and that takes something out of you, right? You're fighting up in weight class. That's a huge difference. However, I think that with the right conditioning, Mike still could have won that fight because he was fighting a beautiful fight. He did a great job with his combinations. He rocked Balaji a couple of times. Like, he fought like a man, and I thought that he deserved a lot of credit and respect there. So I'm happy with that bet, and I'm happy that I kept my hands clean in a lot of the rest of the card. The reads have been a little bit off today. I'll just be frank, right? A lot of volatility inherent on this card, and I think that steering away from some of that was good for me. But it all depends on the matchup, right? Each matchup is a new opportunity. So we got the main event of the evening, guys, and I'm excited to talk about this one. So let's take a look here at the main event preview. I got Erin Blanchfield defeats Maycee Barber via sub or split decision. Barber via TKO in parentheses, because the way I see this fight going down is Maycee is probably the heaviest handed person that Erin Blanchfield has ever fought. I think Manon Fiorot is a more technical striker. I think she's a little bit more savvy. I think she's a little bit better with her shot placement, but she's not as traditional a finisher. She's not as violent and as aggressive. She doesn't fight with as much pressure. And Maycee Barber is a big physical woman at flyweight, and that has been the hardest thing for Erin Blanchfield to overcome in her career. It's not like it's been impossible for her to overcome. She has been able to do so. She beat Talia Santos despite getting no takedown. She used pressure. She used her cage control. She used the fact that she could back her up and beat her up in the clinch. But Maycee Barber is a woman that's very comfortable fighting in the clinch. And I think that against Erin, the technical skills on the ground, I do think are kind of night and day. I think Erin is a higher level jiu-jitsu practitioner. I think that she is a, more technical wrestler, but she's dealing with a physical, strong woman. She's going to have to be very savvy and very smart, very educated in how she takes these positions. So I really believe in Erin Blanchfield long-term as a fighter because I think she's smart. I think she's hardworking. I think she's got an incredible base of skills and she's got a lot of competition experience. She's cold-blooded. She's very coachable. She goes out there and fights hard. But on the other side, you're seeing a very respectable Maycee Barber. She's got 9 wins in the promotion. You can say, a couple of those decisions have been close and competitive and stuff. And I agree with you. But Maycee Barber, finds a way to get the job done more often than not, right? Both these women have a lot of wins in the UFC. Both these women have proven they could close the show. We've seen it with the hands from, Maycee Barber, and we've seen it with the ability to get fights to the ground, right? Because we could say, whether that's with a TKO, whether that's with a head kick knockout, I think once on the regional scene for Erin Blanchfield, but more often than not, how does she get it done? She's got to get it done with her submission grappling game. And there's some footage of Maycee Barber that's really concerning, right? Oh, wow. Oh, my gosh. I'm excited to talk about that one, brother. I'm glad you brought that up in the chat. But basically, to close my thought bubble on this fight, I've seen a lot of sketchy footage from Maycee Barber in the wrestling and the grappling phases. She's given up a takedown in every fight along this 6-fight win streak. And that's so concerning for me because a lot of these women, with all due respect, cannot make you pay when they're on the ground. Like Amanda Hebos doesn't finish many people on the ground in the UFC. That's like she's got good skills. She can neutralize most women on the ground, but she's not a dominant force going out there and submitting everybody on the ground. She's got good skills. She can submit the Paige Van Zants of the world, but at the highest echelons, she doesn't really have that submission offense to take people out of there. And I think that when you look at Erin Blanchfield against JJ Aldrich, one opportunity, much like Ramiz Brahimage, got to that choke, never let her out, never let her off the hook, finished the job. You look at the fight with Molly McCann, took her down, no two bones about it. Step 1, step 2, big bank, take little bank, it's over. Then you look at, some of these other fights, and when Manon Fiorot made the mistake of grabbing a hold of, wait, no way. No way. Are you serious, Johnny? Oh, gosh. Yo, does Erin Blanchfield win by DQ? Because she probably should. Like as Chael Sonnen has talked about in the past, like, what do you mean we both showed up for the fight and then like you don't make the walk and like I don't get the win? Like it's kind of unbelievable. But this sport's crazy, man, and they'll do anything to not pay a fighter. So Erin Blanchfield is probably not going to get credited with the win in this one, and probably not going to get paid as much as she should have. So really, really unfortunate. And my guy Nate says no main event was the best way for this card to end, to be honest. Absolutely. What a crazy card. I guess what we can do for all y'all that are sticking around with me, here's what we can offer for alternate commentary. If y'all want to talk about some of these fights coming up next weekend, get an early look, get some, first thoughts. I'd be more than happy to share some thoughts with you guys. Maybe my guy, JB, will pop back on when he realizes that this fight is not going to be taking place. But ultimately, let's dive in a little bit to the fights to come, because the fights that are already over. And, for all the people that said Mateusz Gamrot and Ludovic Klein should have been the main event, congratulations, guys. Cheers to you. You got your wishes, because it is now the main event officially. Unbelievable. Wow. Capping Service says, yo, that line move is a bit sus now. Barber was plus 250. Makes sense. The wording they are using is insane. Absolutely. They're doing some PR for her, which I appreciate. That card was like 3/4 of a PFL card. Yeah, not great stuff, Nate. Shout out to Nate with the gifted membership, though. What an absolute G. One of the good guys in the space. Our guy Ethan in the chat says Bautista mix, capped Bautista minus 110. I will tell you always, guys, when I have objective analysis, I will also tell you when I am biased as shit. I'm biased as shit when it's patchy mix season, because the guy has made me so many coins over the course of his career. I watched this guy fight in person, first ever MMA event that I went to live at the Seneca Falls Niagara Resort Casino. I went and watched Patchy Mix choke Tony Gravely in the very first round. And I said, this kid is going to be special. This guy is a special fighter, and he's been nothing but since then. When it comes down to it, though, I think this is not an easy fight. This is a tough fight to enter the UFC. However, I look at a guy like Mario Bautista, and I don't know that he's fought somebody recently that is a dynamic finisher in every position like Patchy Mix. And when I say that, I don't say those terms lightly. You look at his ability on the feet. He closed the show, $1 million knee, right? Put Rafion Stotts to sleep. The only other guy that I know who ever did that is Merab Dvalishvili, the champion of the world. And when you look at how he did it, he lined him up, put a big shot on him, and put him away, man. Patchy is cold. And when you go look at the Magomedov fight, it's very hard to get up for a fight when, you have to go out there and beat a guy that you already put to sleep, and the truth is Patchy underperformed in his last fight. And I think that's fair to say. And I'm not a Patchy, soothsayer, right? I'm not going to lie to you guys, but I'm a truthsayer. And I believe that he's a very good fighter. And when you look at what he brings to the table, his back take is sensational. I've called him in the past the New York backpack against Kyoji Horiguchi. What was such a difference maker? His ability to bank rounds with back takes, so important for him, especially over the course of 5 rounds. When you look at what he's able to do in the grappling phase, when he's not going for positional control, the guy can be absolutely devastating with his submission attacks, right? You look at where he got to with the front headlock. His guillotine is one of the best in the sport. I would put that up against anybody. How many guys he's put to sleep? How many guys that were not able to deal with that pressure? I think Patchy is sensational with the rear naked choke, with the guillotine choke. So I think that he's got multiple ways to put you to sleep. And I think that when you look at a fighter like Mario Bautista, if I had to criticize one part of his game, I would say the lethality isn't always there. He's a guy that's very positionally sound. He's a guy that makes a lot of the right decisions. So you got to take your hat off to a guy like that. He's earned his way up the hard way. But there's a reason he doesn't have a huge social media following, right? And it's because he's not always putting guys on highlight reels and going out there and taking guys out. And when he was doing that in his career, I can point you to the level of competition, because guys will talk about the level of competition that Patchy Mix has faced. And I honestly think that a lot of people don't understand that he's fought very quality competition outside the UFC. Talk about Sergio Pettis, a guy that was a UFC top 10 guy. You start going through the ranks. He's fought a lot of guys that were top 10 guys, certified, right? Quality. How about Piotr Yan, a world champion in the UFC? He lost to Magomedov. So is it so bad that Patchy had a close decision with him? Or is it, man, Patchy had to fight a really tough guy twice, and the first time he absolutely put him to sleep. Maybe he took him a little lightly the second time, but still found a way to win. So there's a couple intangibles coming into this one, right? Patchy Mix hasn't fought as much recently. He's been sidelined by the PFL Tour, and it's been really frustrating as a Patchy Mix fan because the guy wants an opportunity to prove he's the best in the world. Now he gets the opportunity, and I think that this is a winnable but difficult first opportunity in the UFC. And the way I would look to target it is not the money line at -180. I would wait for the prop market on Patchy Mix, because I believe that if Patchy Mix is who I think he is, he's going to win this fight by finishing Mario Bautista and letting people know what time it is. So as far as I'm concerned, I'll be looking carefully at the prop markets here, seeing if I get numbers that align with my vision. But if they don't, I'd be happy to pass on this fight and wish everybody the best of luck. Be acknowledged in the fact that I'll be rooting for Patchy Mix every time out. He's a guy that I really believe in his skills. I trained with a lot of his teammates. I've heard nothing but positive remarks. I'm talking about the guys up at Western New York MMA. It taught me a lot about wrestling, to wrestle with guys that trained mixed martial arts. And I want to just give a shout out to those guys. Very talented. And Patchy Mix, he didn't just stay at Western New York MMA. He's traveled the world, man. He's gone to Extreme Couture. And I can tell you guys, the triumvirate of New York MMA in the bantamweight division, Merab Dvalishvili, Aljamain Sterling, and Patchy Mix, they run the bantamweight division until proven otherwise. So it's nothing but respect for both guys. I'm excited for this fight, but I think that Patchy Mix is a guy that you give him one opportunity, he'll take your neck, and that'll be the end of the fight. Shout out to our guy, Ethan, though. I know he's on the other side, and there's nothing but love and respect, Ethan. He says, Bautista takedown defense needs a bit of attention, but Patchy really doesn't have much on the feet. Okay, we disagree slightly there. Don't appreciate the showboating when he's only throwing inside low kicks. Agree on the lethality. Okay, fair play, my man. I think then we largely see it the same way. I think Bautista has his own skills. He's a good cage pusher. He's a good fight manager. He's got a lot of things that will win you UFC fights long term. But I also think, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, guys. This is horrible. Apparently, Maycee Barber has had a seizure. We wish nothing but the best for Maycee Barber. We will be keeping her in our prayers. Serious weight cuts, guys, they're very dangerous, and I have no idea if it's related to the weight cut. So I'm not saying definitively that it is, but a lot of people are very loose with just bragging on fighters, and myself included, right? Sometimes we all get into our emotions about something, but man, these people put themselves through a lot, and cutting down to the weight. She tried to make it, didn't make it, was going to lose some money tonight on this fight, no matter what happened. And now, she's looking at the hospital, and we're just hoping and praying that she's going to be okay. But it's absolutely a scary situation, and, you don't wish it upon anybody. All we can do right now is hope that Maycee Barber is okay. And Erin Blanchfield, she's done nothing wrong. She's done her job like a professional. I'm sure she's devastated by everything that's happening. I'm sure she's confused. I'm sure she's upset, and she has every right to be. And I'm sure that, she's got nothing but concern for Maycee Barber right now as well, because at the end of the day, we all are cool with fighting, right? But we want to see everybody go home safe to their family. And there's nothing fun about this kind of situation. So, it's really off-putting, and honestly, even a bit emotional. I just hope she's all right. Horrible to see. Horrible to see. So hopefully she's okay. Never, ever want to see these kind of things in mixed martial arts, man. We're here for people to have fun, to have fights. But, when it's stuff outside the cage, it just reminds you, hey, these are human beings. These are people with lives and families, and we just got to wish her the best. So shout out to Sweatin' and Bettin' MMA, worst card of the year. I think that's fair to say, man, on a lot of different levels. It was not a good card. It wasn't a good card on paper, and it's even worse now. And there's a pall cast over the arena. Very rare to see stuff like this, guys. You think very few occasions. I think I remember this has happened before. This is not a one-time occurrence. We've seen people, deal with these things before. So Lord willing, it's just going to be another one of these unfortunate moments that passes, and nothing too serious. But of course, we got to keep her in our prayers and hope that everything's all right, because that was a really strange occurrence, man. Very infrequent. All of my years watching fights, I've been watching fights for a very long time. It's extremely infrequent for somebody to not make the walk right before a fight. And to know that it's from health concerns like that, it's really concerning. We've seen some people pull out because of panic attacks and things like that. And, I think people should just have a deal of respect for these athletes, because it's one thing to go out there and play a game, to go out there and throw a stick ball around and whatever, but it's a totally different thing to prep yourself to go out there and do violence, and fight or flight is a real and rational response that your body will have when pressed with insane stress. And so, these athletes put themselves under a lot of duress before they go out there, and, it's freeing to fight, but man, those moments before, some of the most tense and difficult moments of your life, and oftentimes in competitive athletics, it's one thing to go out there and do a dive or all these different things, but again, it's to go out there and be in a mindset to go be violent and to go know the consequences on the other side. It's a terrifying thing. So got to just wish her the best. And Cameron Junkin says, shout out to Tony. Yeah. I mean, you got to win over Alex Pereira, and you're having panic attacks before a fight, man. It just tells you there is no cure-all. There is no panacea. There's nothing that can fix the battle of you against you, right? It's always at the end of the day, you against you. You got to look out for yourself, your mental health, prioritize that, and your physical health, right? Because they play hand in hand. And I hope that that everything's okay for Maycee Barber, because clearly things did not go according to plan for her here. She's been out of the octagon for a while. I'm sure she was excited to get this paycheck. I'm sure she was excited to get this opportunity. And now, probably doesn't get either of those. So I hope that she's okay. HCM says, shaking my head, Barber shouldn't be on the roster anymore. Her health was a huge issue, and she was still allowed to sign a contract. I mean, when you look at Maycee Barber, she's 9-2 in the promotion. I mean, if anybody's earned a right to be here, I think it is Maycee Barber. On the other side of that, health is wealth, right? It's not about who's best. It's about who's left. Maycee tried her best to make it to this fight. I think that's clear. It looked to me like she was in great shape. That was clear. But, some of the decisions, I think the breast enhancement surgery, or whatever you want to call it, right? I don't want to speak out of turn. The surgery, the surgical, prerogatives that she has, that's on her, right? Other than that, though, it's just health is some things that are out of your control, right? I'm sure she eats healthy. I'm sure she's trying to do the right things. I'm sure she's in the gym constantly, but it's hard to keep your body together as you get older. When you deal with other health problems, she's had surgeries. So, I mean that on her knee as well. I believe she had a surgical repair on her knee, if I'm not mistaken. I know she certainly had a knee injury. So now, guys, we just got to look ahead to this pay-per-view and hope for the best, right? Like this card obviously ended on a little bit of a sour note, but we do have a lot to look forward to. And Lord willing, everybody's going to be all right. So wishing the best for Maycee Barber. I'm going to do a quick glance at the Tapology page for UFC 316. And then if we don't have any more in the chat, we will get out of here. But appreciate everybody for your feedback, for your thoughts, for your commentary. A lot of really sharp people have stopped by and given their thoughts along the way. Some channel members as well. Appreciate each and every one of you guys. And we'll have tons of information for UFC 316 later on tonight. I will be up late. I still got the instant coffee. An absolute treat. Sensational. My guy Capping Service in the chat says, once upon a time, Chaz Skelly in the red corner out first, and it was announced that Jamal Emmers was out of the fight. Absolutely. I think that was back spasms, Capping Service. I remember it well. So great shout out. Shout out to Daz Files. Thanks, Liam. Thanks, chat. It was a pleasure, my brother. It always is. Thank you for being here. Hope that you guys enjoyed. And let's go ahead and take a first look. We haven't done as many Liam's first looks, in 2025 just because of the schedule, because I did not want to take away from the main product, which is, of course, Bets and Banter, my favorite show. So now when you look back, guys, we're going to do a quick first look, and we'll do it to end off our live alternate commentary. So we've got Chaos Williams and Andreas Gustafsson. This fight was put together on super short notice. Gustafsson is a problem, man. He comes forward, he swings heavies. This seems like a fight where somebody's going to get knocked out. I think Chaos is a dangerous guy. I think he can knock out anybody. But he's coming off a fight where he kind of got bullied physically and ended up getting choked out there. So, where's his confidence at? Where is he at mentally coming into this one? I'm not totally sure. So for me, I got to do a little more tape study, a little more due diligence on this one. I don't even know what the line's going to look like here, but Chaos is going to be a little bit younger, a little bit longer. Otherwise, I feel like it's pretty nip-tuck fight. I do think there's a world in which Chaos Williams kind of gets pushed into the fence and kind of held there by Gustafsson and beat up a little bit. But I could also see Chaos, catching him, going for one low kick, hit him with that 1-2, put him in the box. So for me, it's a pretty volatile fight. Next up, we got another short notice fight. I got to just be flat out honest with you guys. Mark Chowinski. I don't know who this guy is. Mark the Shark Chowinski. He's an undefeated fighter, 8-0. I got to look this guy up. I'll have a lot more information for you guys, but I don't know who he is. So what am I going to do? Lie to you? I'm going to go ahead and take a look at his Tapology page. And here's what I can also do for you folks is I can present this on screen. So now let's go ahead and bring up Mark the Shark. So he seems like a submission guy. 5 wins by submission, 1 win by KO. So let's have a look here. He's fighting the bottom of the barrel on Anthony Pettis FC, fighting guys with negative records in 2024. So that's not good. Yeah, it seems like he was basically built by this Anthony Pettis promotion. He does have a win in the LFA over 4-1 Noah Lindsay. So that looks okay. John Simon, 7-3. John Ramirez, 8-7. He's got a vendetta against guys named John. And he's got a couple submissions on the amateur as well. No contest retirement against a 1-5 guy. I really don't know what that means. So, yeah, I'll have to do some tape study and some due diligence here. This is what our guy looks like. So, I don't know. Oh, am I not even showing this on screen, guys? Hold on. Hold on a second. What am I doing here? I got the wrong iteration. Let's see. Bam. All right, now we've got it. This is the guy I'm talking about. I thought I had this on screen the whole time, guys. Forgive my tech illiteracy. But in any case, this is who we're dealing with. This is the Tapology record that I was just showing you. It's not so good, right? Our guy is definitely on the struggle bus a little bit here. I'll put myself down low and we'll get this big on screen for the Tapology. Like, look at the guys he's fighting. John Ramirez is 8-7. John Simon, 7-3. Reese Archer, 2-6. It's not super promising, but maybe he's got great skills and we'll have to see when we look on paper. Markel Medeiros is going to be his opponent. He's 2-0 in the UFC. He was supposed to fight Balaji. I really don't understand. I guess he was sick. I doubt he was injured, right? Because he pulled out of this fight with Balaji. Medeiros withdrew, and now Medeiros is booked a week after against somebody else. So that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. Maybe they just didn't want him to get beat up by Balaji. I truly don't understand. But in any case, he's got a split decision win over Austin Thud Hubbard, who's decent but unremarkable, and a unanimous decision win that I thought was a little bit competitive against Landon Quinones. So I'm not super sold on Markel Medeiros either. This feels to me like a total pass fight, unless the line is huge, because I don't really feel super compelled to bet on either guy, honestly. Quillen Salkild, I think, is a good fighter, man. Big odds against Yano Ashmus, but he's the much bigger guy, much longer. Think he should be able to get it to the ground. Think he could wrestle with this guy. Yeah, I think Quillen's going to beat him. So I'll just keep that one short and sweet. Azmat Mirzakhanov and Brendan Iberio. Frankly, guys, this is the kind of fight Brendan Iberio could win. You know, Azmat is better than him, but he's way smaller than him. And he's also a guy that has been out for a long time. He's been very hit and miss in terms of his level of activity. And Brendan Iberio is kind of a perennial killer be killed guy. So I feel like he could definitely go out there and knock this guy out. It's a pretty big number, in my humble opinion. But Azmat Mirzakhanov, the better fighter, definitely a deserved favorite. But it's just like in the light heavyweight division, are you really going to cover a line bigger than like -250, -300 if you're not way, way better? And he's 8 years older. He's much smaller in every phase. Like, I don't know. I just think Brendan Iberio, who's not very good, still has a chance to win this one. So crazy line to me. But maybe I'll do my tape study and I'll realize why. Ju Seng Yu, let me look at exactly who this is. I have no idea who this guy is. And I got to just level with you guys. He's a newcomer to the UFC. Ju Seng Yu, 31 years of age. I got to be honest, just on instinct, again, this is a dogger pass situation for me. Unless Ju Seng Yu is like some secret jiu-jitsu master, which it doesn't look like he is based on his record. I think he's got one professional win by submission. I don't really understand why he would be a massive favorite over Jekka. Jekka is a pretty dangerous guy on the feet. He's just not a very good wrestler grappler. So I think Jekka's striking defense is still like a work in progress, but he put Lucas Alexander in the absolute box. Against Weston Wilson, I thought he was going to get submitted. It went exactly how I thought. So ultimately, Jekka has kind of been what I expected from him, mostly in the UFC. The loss to Anshul Jubilee looks pretty terrible, but other than that, I don't think Jekka's bad. So yeah, just ultimately he's got more fights, he's got more UFC experience, and he's a massive underdog. Those are things that typically check my boxes. So all right, Next up, we got Sergey Spivak and Waldo Cortez Acosta. Shout out to Nathan McKinnon. Asked for takes on this fight in the chat. I mean, as an archetype, like Sergey Spivak is probably the kind of guy that could give problems to Waldo. Like he's a grappler that keeps a pretty consistent pace and he could wrestle a little bit and he's not completely hopeless on the feet. But I think that if he's not getting takedowns, Sergey Spivak is not going to do very well in this fight. I do think Waldo is a more clever and faster and better athlete on the feet. But I think Sergey Spivak, a little bit more high-level experience, and he's just got a kind of game that is built to beat a baseball player and a boxer. You know, Waldo has gone out there and out-wrestled and out-grappled guys like Robelis Despagne, who can't defend a takedown to save their life. And I think that you're looking at a guy in Waldo who can defend takedowns against guys that are less athletic, but I think guys that are really committed to it, like Sergey Spivak, could have success. So for me, this will really tell us a lot about where Waldo is as a prospect. If he could beat Sergey Spivak, then, you know, it might be off to the races because you're going to need to take this guy down. Otherwise, he's going to do a pretty good job using that big frame. He's 6'4", 78-inch reach. He can keep you at the end of that jab. He can throw that baseball overhand. You know, the guy's got some power. Not the biggest hitter you've ever seen, but he can go out there and put out some, you know, consistent enough volume. And aside from the Arlovsky fight where I felt like he should have salsa'd his ass onto the PFL because it was so boring, I feel like Waldo's done a pretty good job of asserting himself in the UFC. So his work, even pre-UFC, beating a Thomas Peterson and these kind of things, they've aged pretty well. So Waldo's not a bad fighter, but he could be 13-2 with that Arlovsky fight. I'll give you guys that. Weird fight. I'll have to tape that one to get the intricate details. Kong Wang, a prohibitive favorite here against Ariane Lipski da Silva. I think she's going to win this one, but I can't really trust Kong Wang based on what I've seen from her. You know, takes a lot of risks, and I'm not totally sold on her ability to grapple. I do think she's physically strong, and you know, I think that her striking should be superior here. I think it could be enough to get a finish on the feet, but I just think Lipski, you know, if anybody's going to have like serious wrestling and grappling upside, it's probably her, and she's a massive underdog. So not a fight that I feel like I'll have any bets on. All right, Bruno Silva and Joshua Van. I think the right guy's favored, but again, it's a really prohibitive price. You know, I think Josh Van's going to knock him out. You know, he's so much younger. He's fast. He's getting better every fight. And Bruno Silva has some good skills, but you see in some of these fights, man, he just gets hit a lot. He gets hurt. You know, and he could get tagged up on the feet, and you just don't want to be taking a lot of volume from Josh Van, in my opinion. He's a guy that can put together good combinations. He's getting better every time out. He's getting more savvy, and I really think now, you know, you can't really afford to make as many mistakes, you know, on the ground with him either. Like Josh is trying to get more aggressive on the ground. He's trying to put in that time, and you know, it's starting to pay dividends. So do I think that he is still young enough that he can make some bad decisions, make a mistake, slip on a banana peel? I think that's possible. But ultimately, guys, I think the speed is going to be substantially different. I think the power is going to be substantially different. And I think Josh is going to just way out volume him. So I think Josh is going to run away with this one. All right, next up, we've got the aforementioned Mario Bautista and Patchy No Love Mix. I'm going with Patchy Mix here, guys. The bigger fighter. They're about the same age here. He's slightly younger as well. He's got more professional experience. He's gone 5 rounds. He's fought tough guys. He's proven it to me. He is the more proven finisher, in my humble opinion. And when I see this fight playing out, I see Patchy Mix getting the job done, choking Mario Bautista to sleep. So I believe Patchy Mix is going to go out there and make a statement in his UFC debut. I acknowledge that I am biased as shit. I am rooting for Patchy Mix above everything else. And I, you know, wish these guys nothing but credit and respect. I think Mario Bautista is a good fighter that is just in a tough fight. And, you know, I think this is going to be justice for Jose Aldo. Patchy Mix is going to put him in the box. So give me Patchy Mix via submission and give me it in the first 2 rounds. Next up, guys, we got Vicente Luque taking on Kevin Holland, and the first look continues at rapid pace. I think Kevin Holland is going to knock out Vicente Luque. It's sad to say. I respect both these guys tremendously, but the 32-year-old Kevin Holland, for me, is in his better division at 170 pounds. And Vicente Luque, I feel like, has been a little bit hit and miss in his recent performances. I thought the Temba Garimbo fight was either going to play out with Temba landing a big shot and putting him away, or with Vicente Luque putting him in that front headlock series and getting him out of there with the Darce choke. And that's exactly what happened. So hats off to Vicente Luque. His Darce choke is incredible. His front headlock series is very, very good. His left hook is sensational. But he's a guy at this stage of his career that I think is a little bit slower on the feet and a little bit more predictable on the feet than Kevin Holland. I think Kevin is fast. I think he showed against, a guy who I really respect in Gunnar Nelson that he is able to deal with guys on the ground at 170. He just can't do it at 185. And that's a high-level black belt that he was defending positions, reversing positions, hurting him on the feet, doing whatever he needed to do to get the win. And I feel like Kevin Holland showed me enough in that fight to say, I think he's going to go out there, put hands on Vicente Luque, and I don't think Vicente is going to like that. So I think Kevin Holland, with his 5-inch reach advantage, with his 4-inch height advantage, with his slight youth advantage, is going to go out there and knock out Vicente Luque and establish himself as a contender at 170. Guys, go back and think about this. The only guy that I picked to beat Jack Della Maddalena in the UFC, Kevin Holland. And it was because I said it's going to go to split decision. And Kevin lost a very close decision against Jack in that fight. If you go back and look, Kevin can strike, man. That's not been a problem for him throughout his career. But his ability to grapple has been called into question. His ability to wrestle and to out-physical guys has been called into question. I think in this fight, he's the more physical guy, potentially, So it's just a fight for me where I feel like Kevin's got a lot of inherent advantages, and I think his speed is going to pay dividends. Really respect both guys. Next up, we got Kelvin Gastelum taking on Joe Pyfer. I love this fight for Kelvin Gastelum at altitude. I'm lukewarm on this fight for Kelvin Gastelum at sea level. And the reason being is Joe Pyfer is a guy that, I think you got to slow him down. He's got big muscles. He comes out swinging. He slowed down substantially against Jack Hermanson, but, he was able to hang on till the end, right? Didn't get finished. But I think that when I look at Kelvin Gastelum, he's got some skills to compete with Pyfer. He's just a little bit up there, right? 33 years of age. Pyfer's 28. Pyfer's a big physical athlete, bigger than Kelvin, much more natural in this middleweight division. But Kelvin's a guy who's shown, 5 times that he can go out there, fight big guys, and really compete and even beat him. So, man, I think when I look at this fight, the line is a little bit prohibitive on the Pyfer side. I think it's Gastelum or pass. I think it has to be a small bet. You can't go crazy on Kelvin if you're on that side. But ultimately, I just think Pyfer has enough vulnerabilities still in his game where I don't really trust him at these prices. Against guys like Kelvin, it's one thing, in my opinion, when he's priced like this against, Marc-Andre Barriault. I think it's a little bit different when he's priced like this against Kelvin Gastelum, a guy who fought for the title, guy who's been in high-level rooms for a long time. He's got Pat Downey in the training room with him over at Fight Ready in the lead up to this camp. Hopefully that pays dividends for Kelvin. But the thing about Kelvin is, he's a bit inconsistent with his performances. He's a guy that you can't always rely on to make it to fight day. So I really want a big number on Kelvin, 4 or 5 to 1, something really big to sink my teeth into, to know that I'm getting the best of it. But man, I just I don't know if I could get back in on the Pyfer experiment. I did lay the chalk with him one time against Hermanson, and I just felt like there was so much that showed in his inexperience a little bit there. And Kelvin's fought the best of the best, the highest level guys. So I think Pyfer, he's big, physical, strong. Maybe he could even have some success on the mat because we know Kelvin Gastelum's jiu-jitsu is mostly wrestle back to your feet and hope for the best. But if Pyfer is not able to get that wrestling and grappling going, if he's not the first guy to knock out Kelvin like he says, then I think Kelvin's going to compete better than the price. Shout out to Pony Smofor in the chat. Says -500 debutante saying what we thinking. I'm thinking I don't know who that guy is, and so he probably shouldn't be a -500. But I will do my tape study and due diligence because I could just be uneducated, right? Maybe he's the next big thing, but it just doesn't feel to me like a guy like Jacobe, who has some power, some UFC knockouts, some UFC wins, should be such a massive underdog. All right, guys. Next up, we're on to the Bantamweight Championship of the World, and Juliana Pena taking on Kayla Harrison. First look at this fight, I think the right woman is favored. I think Kayla Harrison is going to win this fight. She's bigger. She's more physical. She's stronger. I think she's going to get Pena to the ground. And honestly, I just think we've seen Pena is not the best decision maker in the grappling. Even though she has some plaudits of her own, she could be very sloppy at times. And I think Kayla's a lot more technical. So the way that Pena wins this fight, she makes it sloppy. She makes it ugly. She does some damage. She finds a way to tire this girl out and beat her. But I just have a feeling she's going to get smashed to bits before that. She does not fight very much. She's a champion, that's been sitting on the belt. And I really don't rate Juliana Pena. I did not think that she won her last fight. I thought that the Amanda Nunes fight, was a bit flukish after all, right? I thought when we first watched it, I was willing to give her credit. The second time we see Amanda go out there, shut down every aspect of her game and beat her from pillar to post, just showed she was the better fighter, right? We didn't need to see a trilogy there. So for me, Juliana Pena is, a relic of a generation that will soon be passed by. And I think Kayla Harrison is one of the best fighters of her generation. I think she's up there with Amanda Nunes in that regard. I'd love to see those two lock horns in the future, but credit to the champion. She's making the walk. She's taking on the challenge. But I think she's going to get steamrolled here. So give me Kayla Harrison to win this fight. And last but not least, guys, we got the main event of the evening. And if you guys stuck around all the way to the end, I'll even go ahead and tell you guys a bet that I already locked in for next week. I'm on Sugar Sean O'Malley plus 270. And I'll tell you exactly why. The first time that these two guys fought, I picked Merab Dvalishvili. And I said that, if you're getting him at plus money, I thought it was a good wager. And by the time that the fight went off, Merab had moved to like minus 120, minus 125, something like that. And so I ended up, I don't think I had a track bet on that. But in the past, guys, I bet Merab Dvalishvili plus 2xx against Piotr Yan. I bet him plus 2xx against Umar Nurmagomedov. And when you look at this fight, for me, it has so many similarities to a lot of other times when the bantamweight title has changed hands recently. And you look at a guy like O'Malley, he's 3-1 historically as an underdog in the UFC. The only time he lost was against Merab Dvalishvili the last time. And in that fight, guys, Merab was, a minus 120 favorite at close. He was, for most of the week, a plus money underdog. So now you're looking at a market overcorrection, in my humble opinion, where now Sean O'Malley goes from being roughly 50% to win the fight the last time to now being, given a very optimal chance, right? He's gone down 15, 20%. It depends on where you look, right? There's a lot of market width on this fight. Some books are in the 240s. I think I've seen Bet Online get as high as plus 300 at one point. So we're seeing a lot of market width here, but to imagine that this guy now has a 30% chance, it just doesn't feel right to me. When you look at the metrics behind Sean O'Malley, I'll give you guys a very quick synopsis. Number one, he's got a +3 significant strike differential after losing the significant strike tally to Merab last time out. So over a long UFC sample size, this guy is outlanding his opponents at like a 3-1 clip. Very impressive stuff. 2-1 clip. Very impressive stuff. And you're seeing that a guy like Merab is not a very proven finisher. For as good as he is, for as talented as he is, a great fight manager, the guy just doesn't finish many people at the UFC level or even in general in mixed martial arts. On the other side, Sean O'Malley is a proven finishing threat. He's a proven knockdown threat at this level and in his pre-UFC career. So eventually you have to say to yourself, okay, who's the more likely fighter to win this fight inside the distance? And I think that's a toss-up, right? Who's the more likely fighter to win it on the cards? I would say Merab Dvalishvili, but would I say, Merab 70%? I don't know about that. I think that when you look at where Merab is at, he's 34 years of age, which in the bantamweight division, he's getting up there, right? He's not a spring chicken. You're looking at it as Sean O'Malley on the other side, guys. He's still just 30 years of age. And I listen to interviews, not a lot. Like some people like them, some people don't. I listen to interviews, man. And if Sean O'Malley was saying, Merab got lucky, this guy's a bum, and I'm going to smoke him, and this guy sucks, then I would be out on Sean, because then I would think this guy's just a delusional idiot, But that's not what he's saying, right? He's actually being very thoughtful and reflective. He's saying, last time out, I kind of manufactured a beef that wasn't there. And he said, I really have nothing against Merab. He's like, he's a nice guy. He's a good champion. He's a good fighter, but, I'm a competitor and I want to beat him. And I think I could beat him. That's what I want to hear. I don't want you to say, only victory, we can't lose, blah, blah. Yeah, failure is always an option. Listen to Coach Chael Sonnett, okay? Failure is always an option. It's the most readily available option, and it's right there. All you got to do is reach out and grab it. Failure is always there, and it's okay to acknowledge that. But there's success on the other side of doing the right thing. You don't have to make it more complicated than that. Henry Cejudo went from losing in like a minute and a half against DJ, right? Just knee to the body, had nothing for him, got absolutely smoked. And before that fight, he was holding himself to this high standard. I got to be undefeated. I got to be the first Olympic champion. I got to do this and this and this. And he went out there and had the worst performance of his career. Not just a fight, right? The fight went terribly. The performance was awful. He didn't even look like himself, right? He looked like a shell of himself. And you could credit DJ, which he should. But you could also say that part of this fighting game is mental. And when you put a lot of pressure on yourself to get a certain outcome, pressure makes diamonds and it also makes coal. I think last time out, it's the sphere. Everybody's got a freaking rainbow, Sean O'Malley headpiece on. There's a lot of pressure for you to go deliver as the company, shiny object in that fight. And Sean O'Malley felt that pressure. And in my humble opinion, he broke under that pressure. I believe between the 4th and the 5th round, his coach was telling him, hey, man, only one more round. We're about to get through this. And I didn't love that, right? That's the thing I didn't like. That's why I think Sean O'Malley's an underdog coming in here, because he has to change what happened in the last fight. The last fight, the dynamic was Merab Dvalishvili broke this man in the first 4 rounds. But what happened in the 5th? And I think this is important to note. Unanimously, Sean O'Malley came back and won the 5th round, all 3 judges' scorecards. So Sean O'Malley, despite the fact that he needed a freaking pep talk to come out for that 5th round at all, he came out and was able to touch Merab to the body and hurt him and change the complexion of that fight, even if just for that round. I think that Sean O'Malley understands, if I go out there and I try and make this an ego contest, I'm going to have a very hard time. I need to touch this guy to the body. I need to be smart in my positioning. I need to not rush and make mistakes. I need to be very smart and do the next right thing. And if I do that, I can beat this guy, whether I clip him and knock him out, or whether I'm able to defend enough takedowns, get enough damage off, win enough rounds in enough minutes that I can get this decision to go my way. Because, by the way, guys, you go back and you look at the last result. If I saw Merab Dvalishvili go out there and wash him 50-45, then I would maybe not make this bet, because that would tell me, he had no success. He had nothing going for him. He really couldn't get answers. He wins the 3rd round on 2 out of 3 judges' scorecards. So clearly Sean O'Malley had some moments in this fight. In the 1st round, he got taken down. He gave up some spots. He wasn't getting blown out for large portions of the fight. There was a lot of time spent in these fights that were very competitive. But the moments that stick out to people are Merab kissing him. Merab is the master of optics, guys. When I tell you what is so special about Merab Dvalishvili, he understands optics. When he hits you, he'll point at you and tell you. He will let you know. And the reason he's doing that is so the judges know. I hit you and I got you. I know I got you. I get responses from people. He kicks people in the leg. He punches them 10 times in the body. He comes forward late in rounds. He does what it takes to show I am winning. He sits Umar Nurmagomedov to his butt, puts both hands up in the air. I'm winning. Don't forget, I'm winning. I could just tell you guys, when you're out there, and I have only done a handful of competitions in grappling where there are judges that will decide who wins the contest after 5, 8, whatever minutes it is of grappling, right? And I had one match where I felt like I won the majority of the minutes, but I knew I was going to lose the decision because late in the contest, I gave up my back. And I've seen so many MMA fights, and if you make one mistake, then you will cost yourself late in a round. And I think that for Merab Dvalishvili, he has just done a sensational job of winning rounds, winning minutes, winning exchanges that count, and making a point of letting you know that he did it. That's a smart guy. That's a championship fighter. He makes the most of what he has. But we have the younger guy, the much larger fighter, who everybody in the market agreed was roughly 50% to win this fight the last time it was booked. And the only difference now is that Merab is older, and he just had another hard fight with Umar Nurmagomedov. And in the meantime, Sean O'Malley has not had any more fights. He has not been exposed by anybody. Nobody got to see more footage on the guy. He's been working away in silence. And meanwhile, he has a whole new 25 minutes to study Merab Dvalishvili and all of his tendencies and the things that he's doing well and the things that he's not doing well and the shots that bother him and the shots that don't bother him. I think people forget that despite Merab winning his last fight, did he look like he was a minus 500 favorite, guys? He did not. He looked like he was a minus 150, a minus 200 maybe. My dog is now sniffing through thumbtacks, so sorry about that. Wanted to make sure my dog's okay. And of course, the doggy is okay. But we're talking about dogs, and the dog is in the room making his presence felt. And the truth is this. When I look at Sean O'Malley, he's the kind of guy I want to bet on as an underdog. 3-1 in the UFC. When he was a plus 2XX dog against Jan, he found a way to get it done by split decision, by hook or by crook, whether you liked it or not. Against Aljamain Sterling, he came into that fight injured, right? He still found a way to put away Aljamain Sterling. Yes, were the circumstances favorable? Sure they were. Was he still a plus 2XX underdog? And did he get the win? Yes, he did. So this guy has multiple times come through in this price range in the UFC against UFC championship level fighters. So the data points all tell me it's Sean O'Malley or pass at this price. Merab Dvalishvili in his last fight was the sitting champion, and he closed a plus 2XX underdog. Nobody had faith in him. I came to tell you guys, bet on Merab. He deserves it. He's a great fighter. And now I'm saying, I truly believe that this is a overcorrection, right? Who is to say Sean O'Malley can't make some improvements here, D up some more takedowns, win 3-2, right? On two judges' scorecards, he lost 48-47. He wins one more round, he wins the fight. That's what we're talking about. That's thin margins, right? So when we have thin margins, when we got the older guy who's smaller, who gets hurt in a lot of his fights, and he's fighting the guy who's more dangerous, who's younger, who's bigger, who hasn't put more footage out there for people to study, like there's just so many things that I like more about O'Malley in this fight than I did in the first fight. And in the first fight, I like Merab. But one thing I pride myself on is the ability to pivot with new information and based on a new matchup. Every matchup is a new circumstance. Merab Dvalishvili going into that fight had no pressure, right? It was, hey, I get the biggest opportunity in my life. I worked my entire career for this, and it's against a striker, a guy I could go out there and wrestle. And he did. And he went out there and did his thing, man. It was the biggest win of his life, biggest win of his career, the crowning moment. That fight, the follow-up against Umar, he showed everybody his medal. He showed everybody who he is. But how many of those does he still have in him? The UFC tried to wait him out, guys. They made him win a fucking million fights in a row before he became champ. And they give him what matchmaking off the rip? A rematch with Petr Yan, who he completely washed for 5 rounds? No. How about Umar Nurmagomedov from the bottom of the deck? How about a guy we think's going to beat you? And it didn't work out. But now the UFC is saying, hey, show pony, the guy that we always wanted to be champ. Here's another crack at this. Don't fuck this up, kid. He is older now. He's taking more damage. Go find your kill shot. Go win 3-2. Do what you need to do. I believe that the UFC wants Sean O'Malley to be the champion. So do they get their wish every time? No, they do not. But is there a reason that Sean O'Malley's getting this opportunity again before other contenders in the line? Yes. And it is because Sean O'Malley moves units on pay-per-view. He's more interesting. He attracts eyeballs and attention. That seems like a good play for the UFC, right? So when I listen to O'Malley, he doesn't sound delusional. He sounds understanding that Merab is a serious fighter with incredible skills that needs to be defeated soundly by competing hard for the full 25 minutes. If he does that, he's got a great chance to win. So for me, I think that the odds are a little bit off in this regard. I would make Merab Dvalishvili a minus 150 favorite. Perhaps a minus 185 favorite. I would not make him a minus 325 favorite. I think that's absurd. So for me, Sean O'Malley is to pick the click in the main event for UFC 316. It's going down Beast Coast, East Coast, New Jersey, stand up, Newark, New Jersey. So I want to just say shout out to everybody who rocked with us, guys. We had a lot of people, including my guy, Jewish Better. He popped in and did some commentary with me. Appreciate him for that. Appreciate everybody from the live chat who stuck around to the end. Hope that you guys got some value out of that O'Malley breakdown. I've done a long written breakdown that's up on Patreon as well. So bottom line for me is I'm excited about the fight. I'm excited about the pay-per-view card. We can't do worse than we did at this event, right? In terms of what was put on paper, what was put on film by the UFC. It was just not a great night. So let's see if they can bounce back with a great pay-per-view offering. Hopefully Maycee Barber is A-okay. Prayers up for her, obviously, and her family. But that's all that I got for you guys tonight. So I hope that you guys enjoyed the first look. I hope you guys enjoyed some of the alternate commentary as well. A little bit less fighting to talk about than we expected, but hope that you guys will follow the advice of my guy, Cameron. Junk in and hammer fist that like button. Make sure that if you're not already, get subscribed to the channel. It truly helps out. And if you guys want more, fight talk from me, go ahead and fire off in the comment section what you want to hear next, and we'll go ahead and get working on that. So thanks so much, guys. I'm looking to do some more content this week where we'll put out some early previews on some of these fights as I get the tape studies done. But in the meantime, God bless. Good luck. I hope that you guys all enjoyed the fights, what little that we got, and we're back next week to have all the same fun again. So you'll see me on with Wiz for bets and banter, later in the week. And until then, have a great rest of your week. So thanks, everybody. God bless.